Welcome, everyone, to our Zoom session for the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching. Today, we will be discussing the potential end of the traditional term paper with the advent of AI chatbots. As technology continues to advance, educators are faced with the challenge of preserving the integrity of the term paper, which has been a staple for the education system for decades. We will be exploring the ways AI chatbots can be used to enhance the writing process and examining the potential benefits and drawbacks of this shift in pedagogy. Our goal is to provide a comprehensive understanding of the current state of technology in the education system and to explore innovative solutions that will benefit educators and students. Let's begin. Realize the term paper with tone, theme, and plot, beloved by professors, but slain by a bot. Okay, this is what I would have written if I wrote the intro to this SILT presentation. I don't know if you can see all of it, but to our Zoom session, there's no need to refer to Zoom. The potential, you don't have that, talk about the potential end. This is about the end. As technology continues to advance, that's cliche, a staple of the education system, the current state of technology. I wouldn't have used these words. Now imagine if I started this presentation like this, same number of words. Welcome to Pallbearer at Essay's funeral, during which we'll discuss the history of chatbot and term paper and how artificial intelligence compels us to find creative ways to engage students. Typically, students embrace new technologies from Second Life to TikTok, not so much with chatbots because they undermine convention. Hard sciences have experiments, humanities and social sciences have essays graded subjectively across disciplines. Chatbots challenge that power structure. Gen Z will use chatbots because writing is a chore, and they have been told that chores are best handled by machines. Reading comprehension used to be paramount until Common Core standards elevated the essay in high school. I make the case to promote reading to preserve knowledge via educational technology like Canvas. Let's begin. You can see that was more detailed and more to the point of what we are going to take a look at in this presentation, and particularly how chatbots have evolved over decades. This is not something new. In 1966, we have Elisa that was pre-scripted. It was just basically trying to see if people could believe they were talking to another human. Then we have Parry. Parry actually fooled examiners 52% of the time. It's in 1972, quite a ways back. We have Jabberwacky, that was programmed to simulate a human voice. And then we have Alice, that's artificial linguistic and internet computer entity. That advanced language, a smarter child introduced bots to social media. And now we have in recent years some really big advancements. Google Assistant, Cortana, Alexa, embedded in multiple devices. ChatGPT now in 2021, human-sounding text, and also in 2021, DALL-E. And you'll notice at the bottom here, we have all of these photos. These were all generated by commands to DALL-E based on the slides we're going to show you today. And we are going to begin with chatbots and the Turing test. Alan Turing, a British mathematician, devised a test in 1950 to see if machines could fool humans into believing they are speaking with a person. The New York Times notes that when some people talk to bots, including the people who develop them, they think that they have established some sort of awareness, some sort of consciousness. Another article in the New York Times states, AI is not sentient. Robots can't think or feel, despite what researchers who build them want to believe. And chatbots are not human, but are programmed to be. And this is very interesting from a scientific perspective. Of course, they lack consciousness. Of course, they have no conscience. That's more the philosophy of this. But the algorithms are patterned after the human brain. And so these are going to advance at a terrific rate. They have artificial neurons responding to each other. They weigh interactions and improve. And that, of course, is called machine learning. Now, look, poetry emanates from conscience, at least that's what I believe. And I tried repeatedly with Chat GPT to get it to write a decent free verse poem. And you can see my command here, do not write in rhyme. Write a free verse poem about the old masters never being wrong. And I took all the imagery from Musée des Beaux-Arts by W.H. Auden. And of course, you can see the difference. The old masters were never wrong. Their strokes bold, their colors strong. Oh, that's awful. A man sits eating his bread while outside a plowman treads. Just awful. If you ever get a chance, do take a look at W.H. Auden's poem. As I have a PhD in English, and just by my own view, I think that this is one of the best poems ever written. Okay, now classroom security risks with ChatGPT. The service terms, you should always read the service terms before you introduce ChatGPT into a classroom. Remember that machine learning needs to take your content and use it. And that can open up risks if you have intellectual property. Risks include everything from spoofing, pretending to be an administrator or something, or some other officer, and data theft. Professors who embrace innovation, they have to know the risks, and you should always contact your IT supervisor if you are unsure about those risks. We've been here before. Remember Second Life? And I say probably not. Now, if I have a bibliography at the end of this presentation, and you can take a look at that. And you can, I'll make sure that bibliography is downloadable from CELP. And you can see some of the articles I've written or some of the articles I'm using in this presentation. But Iowa State University and other universities spent thousands of dollars actually forcing students to take classes in Second Life. And I wrote that, oh my gosh, the stuff that happens on this platform, you don't want students to see. I actually wrote a piece for Inside Higher Ed called Virtual Sexual Assault, and it was game over soon enough. There are other failed experiments. In 2005, Duke University gave iPods away, thinking that students would use them for lectures and podcasts. And of course, they said, thanks, Duke, I'm going to use this for music, because the device is programmed to deliver music, not lectures. The medium is the moral. Remember that statement whenever you see new media being introduced into academia. Okay, chatbots and lesson plans. The impulse is going to be how to teach students to use chatbots ethically. And I'm all for that. You have to be concerned about its proprietary algorithms. Make sure there's nothing in your content that you want them to take that might expose privacy or intellectual property. History tells us before you start introducing chatbots into your lesson plans, make sure you know what the programming is and what it wants from you. Okay, case in point, TikTok classes. Now, Duke and other universities have scheduled these influencer classes on TikTok. Many institutions, including Iowa State University, banned TikTok because of the intrusive service terms. Again, teachers who use the app without knowing the hidden algorithms, be careful, not only with ChatGPT, but with any new application you are introducing into the classroom. There's widespread concern about ChatGPT. Here's a citation from the Washington Post. Teachers and professors across the education system are in near panic as they confront a revolution in artificial intelligence that could allow for cheating at a grand scale. The biggest concern is that the students are going to use ChatGPT to compose term papers. I promise you they will. Some teachers are looking at different ways to do the required essay. One includes handwritten essays. I can't think of a more arduous term for Gen Z. Gen Z has been inculcated with the idea that if anything involves work, a machine probably could do it better than you can. So they are going to use ChatGPT. It is very convenient, and it's convenient for term papers. Uh, a while back, Dr. Daniela Dimitrova and I did a book called Vanishing Act, and we documented that any educational standard is apt to be undermined if the convenience level allows for that, and it does allow for that in writing. Okay, the history of the essay. I told Dali to give me beard shear and a robot holding a term paper, and that's what it came out. Not that bad. It's got the cardinal and gold colors. Writing is important. Before writing evolved, we had memory and oral tradition based on poems and songs and elder folk, and writing safeguarded history and vital records. The essay comes from the French essayer or try. Montaigne used the term to record his character traits in 1570. And you're going to see Sir Francis Bacon and others in England adopting it, Ben Jonson. And then essays were introduced to teach writing. In the 1870s, Harvard was one of the first to require an essay for admission. And in the 20th century, we've also seen it used for governments. Okay, the case against the essay. The hard sciences have experiments. I began my college career as a chemistry major. Humanities and social sciences have essays. That pits the teacher's knowledge against the students. That's a power structure. ChatGPT is going to challenge that. Of course, there are deductions from misspellings, awkward locutions, common splices, and so on. The problem is some teachers deduct a point or two, others a grade. There's no uniform grading across academe. And those disparities are class to class, person to person, and the students tend to remember the unfairness of it all. There are documents that I've included in the bibliography that showcase that. In 2017, the New York Times published a very important article called Why Kids Can't Write, and they talk about Common Core state standards. In other words, the legislatures are interested in what we are actually doing in K through 12 and in college. The standards require students to write 3 types of essays: argumentative, informational, and narrative. This approach became favored and replaced reading comprehension. And I'm going to emphasize reading comprehension momentarily. Okay, plagiarism and paper mills. Some students are so affronted by the term paper that they steal or pay for content. I asked, my students in media ethics about how they felt about the term paper. And some said, we've been so indoctrinated into doing this that we just give the professor what the professor wants, because if we don't, we get penalized. Others say they despise the term paper. They never learned anything from it. They must have done dozens of term papers in the course of their career. They can't remember one of them. And some other students said, we feel that the term paper, if you know how to write, your journalism major or English major, advertising and public relations, you can probably do a pretty good job writing a term paper, but you forget it. It's not an important part of your education. But they felt sorry. They felt actually sorry for some students in non-writing disciplines that are judged according to the same standards as writing content disciplines like English and journalism. In my classes, we do a role reversal. I write the essays, I write the term papers, I write the posts, and then I ask students to critique them via the Canvas tab of discussions, or sometimes Studio, where I'll upload a video and have them discuss that as well. This has been a marvelous way for me to engage my students. So we respond to each other, and I'll show you that momentarily again. And then they come to my office, and then we have face-to-face discussions. This role reversal is so important. Here's an example from one of my past semesters. You see 14 people responded to this, 7 here, 4, and they continue a dialogue with each other and me about something that I write. Now, what I write or post has to be content specific to media ethics. I mean, I can't write, even though I love my beautiful Maine Coons, I can't write about Maine Coons and ask them to critique that. That doesn't advance learning. The posts and discussions have to be content specific that you're going to cover in a module, a lecture, or something of that nature. Now, over here is an example. This is a piece I published in the Des Moines Register. It's called The Philosophy of One Less Thing. It doesn't have to be a published piece. You could just write something and have that you were going to use or update your lesson. You know, we all update our lesson plans. So write a post about that. Let's do the writing as professors and teachers, and then ask students to respond. This just happens to be a published piece, and you can put your published pieces in there if it's content specific to the particular class, The Philosophy of One Less Thing. And here's an example of an exchange. I deleted the name, and I talk about how we should let go of things in our busy day. And she writes this very elegant idea about being in Spain in 2022 and seeing the importance of a siesta where we step back. And that, sparked a chord in me because I'm also a dual citizen of Malta in the United States. It's the same in Malta. We have a siesta, and I include a link to an article about that in Malta and in an excerpt. And what's happening here is the student is writing, even though it's based primarily on reading comprehension. Okay, let's continue with this student interaction. I don't grade those critiques because that puts more pressure for the student to give me what they think I want. I offer modest extra credit. And again, the students don't realize that they're writing, but they are. And in place of essays, I have some group projects. I have a portfolio project, but mostly the class grade is based on some rigorous exams. And they are so rigorous that it drives students to the extra credit to continue our discussion. Okay, research and teaching. I realize that at many universities, including Iowa State University, tenure track or term faculty are not rewarded for writing. They're not rewarded for research. I get that. I also understand that we're an institution of science and technology, and our research sometimes doesn't integrate easily into undergraduate classes, especially. We can if we tried to do that. A 2000 study found that the chief reason that faculty research and writing doesn't translate well into course-specific undergraduate modules is because we're not making an effort to do that. So reading and comprehension. Okay, look, writing is important, but machines are going to do that. Reading and reading comprehension is so important to every discipline, and that's what I'm mostly concerned about. One recent study said that children enjoyed reading less, and they're distracted by digital devices. Another study notes that high school graduates are reading 19% slower than they did than counterparts did 50 years ago. That study did not factor in computer notifications from cell phones or other devices, I should say. If we do not focus on reading, the genius of literary masters is going to be overlooked and perhaps in asynchronous time forgotten. I focused on reading comprehension in a class called Technology and Social Change. I assigned a book to be read and a presentation to be made in class, and it generated national interest. The Techno Skeptic magazine covered it. The Chronicle of Higher Education took a look at it. One student, the students realized that they hadn't read a print book in years, and that reading a print book actually changed their perception of education and knowledge. They remembered the books. Remember, they didn't remember the term paper. In my class evaluations that year, people said that they learned more from the book they read than they did even in my class. And that gives you an idea of the impact of reading. One student wrote, "Throughout my time reading The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt, I will admit that I was very distracted by my phone, laptop, noises outside my apartment. I needed to make a change or find a better place to read, or else I wasn't going to finish reading this book in time. So I decided to go to the library." Isn't that ironic? The library is the mother of all books. In follow-up surveys in my classes, 92% enjoyed the experience and 73% found that their cell phones were a distraction. And what they learned was that the book was the ultimate firewalled medium. Books foster knowledge. Reading a book online is no substitute than having that book in your hand and getting rid of all the notifications all around us. Chatbots, however, are a substitute for writing. Now, what reading does is it reveals writing strategies. And this is why I want you to think that it's not an either or. If you focus on reading, there's going to be some writing involved. And Florida State University has a wonderful page. Again, it's going to be available in the bibliography to this presentation. And they talk about appealing to an audience, finding commonalities from SOFA to 5K, active reading, the verbal shove off, active reading, how to eat a poem. All these lessons are to instill in students the pleasure of reading. And here, this is what they assign a piece of reading, and then in discussions, and they engage their students in the English department at Florida State. What issue is the writer focusing on? What is the writer's purpose? Who is the audience for this writing? What is the writer's tone? What evidence does the writer use to support the central argument? Does the writer include enough evidence? Does the writer consider and address or refute opposing arguments? But these are just very general statements. They're not asking the students for specific or implying that the student should give specific responses based on the topic or free response of term papers. They're just saying, do you agree or disagree, and why? And focusing on the reading of that, which I think is just so important. I say writing the essay's obituary. Create assignments that inform your lesson plan, engaging students in the process. Consider role reversal and share posts as I did, or videos. Compose assignments that engage your students in reading, discussion, and teacher-student interaction, both in class and during office hours. And stop worrying about writing of majors and non-content creation disciplines. Like privacy, get over it. Chatbots are going to be used. Highlight reading comprehension and focus on knowledge rather than on cheating. Writing is an art. There will always be writers who amaze, inspire, and inform us, and we can assign those works as part of pedagogy. No chatbot can match the brilliance of their narratives. Here's the bibliography. We'll make that available. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that presentation, and I hope you will consider the importance of reading comprehension. It is so vital to so many of our classes. Okay, thank you very much.